Hello, and welcome to World Water Week. In 2017, Peru was devastated by massive floods due to the El Niño weather phenomenon, which left 164 dead, tens of thousands homeless, and critical infrastructure destroyed. In response, the Peruvian government began its strengthened investment in resilient infrastructure. Today, that infrastructure investment has broadened, and that program has now expanded to invest billions of dollars in closing the country's infrastructure gap. Since 2020, within the framework of a government-to-government agreement, the Peruvian state has benefited from technical support through the United Kingdom Delivery Team, UKDT, a consortium of British companies Mace, Arup, and Gleeds. To tell us more about this very unique and special collaboration, I'm joined by Nelly Castaneda, General Manager of the National Infrastructure Authority, the Peruvian government's department in charge of executing this vast and ambitious program. Zandra Loegua, the government-to-government project manager and infrastructure manager at the UK's Department for Business and Trade, based at the British Embassy in Peru. And Inigo Ruiz, Deputy Director and Technical Lead at UKDT, the consortium in charge of providing technical and delivery assurance to the program. Now, dear audience members, before I go any further, I'd like to just let you know that today we are offering simultaneous interpretation, as some of our speakers will be speaking Spanish and I will be continuing in English. So if you'd like to join us and tune in to into the language of your choice, I should say, you can download the Interprify app and enter in the token as mentioned on the screen, or use the QR code that you see on your screen right now and join us. Nelly, I'd like to start with you. Please tell us a little bit more about this very special program, what makes it so unique, and who in Peru stands to gain from its success.
Muy buenas tardes, soy la ingeniero Nelly Castañeda, gerente general de la Autoridad Nacional de Infraestructura, es una entidad del Estado del gobierno peruano. Permítame ante todo que en este evento tan importante de la Semana Mundial del Agua podamos resaltar y manifestar nuestras experiencias respecto al contrato que tenemos, al trabajo colaborativo que tenemos con Reino Unido para la ejecución y desarrollo de un programa tan importante en el país como es las intervenciones como resultado del fenómeno del Niño y los cambios climáticos que en el país pues, se suscita. Tenemos sismos, ciclones, el fenómeno del Niño. Entonces, todo eso hace de la necesidad de poder buscar mecanismos aliados como este modelo de contrato G2G de Estado a Estado con el gobierno, con Gran Bretaña, que nos permite pues atender y asistir y poder enfocar la demanda grande que tenemos en la brecha de infraestructura en mi país de más de 93.000 millones de dólares, y justamente cualquier infraestructura existente no satisface o cubre las necesidades de poder realizar obras de protección frente a este fenómeno del Niño. Es así que, como resultado del fenómeno del Niño del año 2017, el gobierno peruano, presidido por nuestra presidenta de la República, la doctora Dina Boluarte Segarra, ha priorizado la continuidad de este programa con Reino Unido para la continuidad de la intervención de importantes obras de defensas contra las inundaciones, producto pues, de estos cambios climáticos. Es así que nuestro programa venimos trabajando desde el 2020 y tenemos pues 183 proyectos en ejecución. Esta cartera de inversiones nos permite poder identificar, ejecutar todo aquello que demanda la necesidad de poder contribuir en obras de envergadura para el desarrollo y para la seguridad de los proyectos. El programa NI es grande, es una entidad joven, pero gracias a este trabajo colaborativo podemos decir con satisfacción que tenemos 76 instituciones educativas concluidas, 20 centros de salud, 670 kilómetros de defensas ribereñas en 17 cuencas. También tenemos obras de drenaje, 7 obras de drenaje y más de 60,000 obras de infraestructura natural. Todo ello beneficia a más de 13.400.000 habitantes de nuestro país que pueden estar ya asegurando la calidad de vida. Asimismo, debo manifestar que la inversión que realizamos el gobierno peruano con recursos propios del gobierno peruano supera más de 6.700 millones de dólares. Y en el año del 2020 al 2023 hemos ejecutado 2.400 millones de dólares. Y a partir de 2024 al 2028 tenemos proyectado más de 4.200 millones de dólares. Esto pues hace de que realmente el gobierno peruano está comprometido con enfrentar, reducir la brecha de infraestructura en este tipo de obras. Pero ese trabajo no hubiéramos podido lograr así solos, ¿no? ¿Qué resulta, qué muestra todo ello? Es de que realmente tenemos la experiencia de obras de calidad que superan estándares internacionales en la construcción. Nos permite pues concluir las obras dentro de los plazos establecidos y sobre todo, lo más importante, que es la procura que se realiza a través de este modelo G2E, contrato de Estado a Estado, es totalmente transparente, de rendición de cuentas, cosa que todo el mundo exigimos, como pedimos y ser parte de la claridad de la transparencia del agua. Así tenemos que orientarnos. Bueno, ese es el trabajo en equipo que venimos desarrollando, el trabajo en conjunto con Reino Unido, y esperamos que continuemos realizando de manera conjunta para hacer grandes obras. El Perú es un país con historia, como todos los países tenemos, pero el agua no tiene fronteras y nosotros tenemos que unirnos en esta red para seguir trabajando por el desarrollo y la participación y sobre todo la obligación que tenemos del servicio a la población, darles infraestructura con calidad, resilientes y sobre todo sostenibles a lo largo de la vida.
Thank you so much, Nelly, for that strong intervention. What I'm hearing, I mean, I hear you very clearly talking about that commitment from the Peruvian government, but also that very special relationship that's come forward with the UK government. And I'd like to build on that a little bit with you, Sandra. This government-to-government agreement is quite unique in its manner. And so tell us a little bit about this approach, how it came to be, and why the UK government is interested in pursuing this model, as well as how maybe if you could tell us a little bit also about how this agreement has helped to facilitate the speed and the scale of the project that Nelly has mentioned here.
Sure. Thanks for the question. So our government-to-government agreement, or G2G model, basically aims to embed UK-based international practices as well as high-quality standards for the delivery of large infrastructure projects and programs. Our focus, or key focus with this collaboration now with the Peruvian government, is to foster knowledge transfer between both governments and create capability and a legacy of professionals. So I would also like to say that especially our G2G, with the National Infrastructure Authority and with the support of the UK delivery team, basically combines the best of both worlds, because first you have public expertise from UK government, as well as world-leading companies and the UK delivery team through Mace, Arup, and Glitz that provide this expertise. So combining these two basically creates and provides access to more innovation, high-quality standards, as well as years of experience.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Sorry, I'm just taking some notes while you're speaking because it's so interesting. That I thought that actually that last point that you said there, it and really builds on what Nelly was saying about that access to expertise, allowing you to go a little bit faster, access to innovation, but also super important that it's building on the public expertise that's available in Peru. And I think that that's really what strikes me as very special about this program, that it's not just from the outside in, it's really collaborative, that you're strengthening what's already there or building on what's already there, but adding maybe what can be brought in from outside. Thank you so much for that, Sandra. It's fascinating. Inigo, I'd like to come to you. I mean, I keep saying how impressive this program is, and I really hope that we'll see more of this elsewhere in the world. But something that's also quite interesting, and for me as somebody who has studied integrated water resources management and worked within the field, the fact that you're working at basin scale. I mean, that's really impressive. I think a lot of organizations talk about working at basin scale, but it's rarely done, I think, in the way that it's been done in this program. So tell me a little bit about working at the basin scale and also the strong adoption of nature-based solutions, and why has that been so important to the successes you've seen so far?
Thanks, Kanika. Well, I mean, when we study the theory of resilience in order to make communities and basins more resilient, we always say that it's no one solution. It's impossible to do it just with one type of solution, with one type of infrastructure. And in order to do so, what we need to find is different type of solutions in the entire basin. And that is really what this project in each of the 17 river basin is trying to do. Mixing green and gray infrastructure, because neither of both can live on its own, and the key part is trying to mix it and trying to implement each of them when it's best needed. So because of the topography of Peru, in the upper catchment, it's very steep, so that is where we are focusing more on natural infrastructure, because what is crucial is to try to reduce the runoff and try to prevent any sedimentation, any solid transportation, and any type of landslides and all that. So that is why the program overall, they were mentioning, it has like more than 20,000 hectares of reforestation that is being planned, and in total almost 60,000 hectares that they are going to be intervening one way or the other, even like forestation, reforestation, protection, terracing, but all that is really natural infrastructure in the upper catchment. In a couple of them, it may be needed also some dams, but we are trying also to see if they can be multi-purpose dams, so it wouldn't be only just to retain water, but try to reuse it in the best way possible. Then in the middle and lower catchment, where suddenly it becomes way more flat and is where like the real floodings start happening, is where we are starting to work more with like river defenses or trying to naturalize, amplify a little bit the river basin. And that is also been quite interesting to see how can we include a little bit of natural infrastructure in those aspects, that it's not always easy. Also in some gullies, we are working with like transversal dikes to prevent landslides, as we were saying. And finally, in the larger cities, we have like 7 cities where we are starting to implement drainage systems, like cities of hundreds of thousands of inhabitants that they don't have at the moment to run drainage systems. And there also we are starting to look at sustainable drainage systems, see how can we implement such in a context that is not normally the classic UK, where all the literature has like a lot of greening because it rains a lot, because most of the cities, they are quite desertic. So a new concept of sustainable drainage systems in this type of context. And finally, we have early warning systems, also at a basin scale, that try to cover the security of the population whenever risk may come. So it's really integrated. It's really at the all basin scale.
Yeah, it really sounds like it. I mean, it sounds like you're, as you mentioned, all the way from the upper catchment all the way down, and being contextual along at every step. Thank you for that. I'd like to ask maybe a quick follow-up to all of you. What do you see as the general success factors needed when working in a program like this? And maybe you can just mention one or two, but what, if this were to be replicated, what are those key tickets to success? Nelly, I start with you.
Muchas gracias. Como entidad pública, la Autoridad Nacional de Infraestructura es una dependencia adscrita al Consejo de Ministros, a la Presidencia del Consejo de Ministros, que es el centro del órgano público, y eso nos facilita una interrelación rápida con los ministerios, con los gobiernos regionales, con los gobiernos locales. Otro factor importante es que es la única institución del país cuyo jefe ha sido designado por concurso público por un periodo de 4 años. Esto pues da una estabilidad institucional y sobre todo una muestra de transparencia y la toma de decisiones siempre desde el aspecto técnico. Contamos con una normatividad bastante flexible en la permisología, en la tramitología de lo que es arqueología, impacto ambiental, entre otros. Contamos con una oficina de programación para poder de gestión de proyectos, en el cual nos implementa toda la información fiable para la toma de decisiones. Y sobre todo, lo más importante es que las procuras que se realiza con este modelo de contrato G2G realmente muestra una transparencia y rendición de cuentas oportunas. Creo que son factores y sobre todo contamos también con herramientas flexibles como los contratos NEX, PMO, y la entidad va fortaleciéndose a través de esta oficina de gestión proyectos para poder replicar todo este trabajo y sobre todo el control y manejo dentro de lo que es la administración pública de todo un país.
Thank you so much. Sandra, I come to you, please.
I'll go really quickly. From a UK government perspective, we have 3 success factors. The first one, and I think one of the most important, is collaboration. This is a partnership both from a government perspective and a private sector perspective that we are working together to deliver this program of infrastructure, social and sustainable, and with the highest standards. The second one would be embedding UK best practices. Right now, Peru has taken this G2G model as their own. At the beginning, it wasn't even in the regulatory framework. Right now, it's in the new government procurement law. So it's really important to embed these best practices, this G2G2D model, into that program. And finally, I would say stakeholder engagement, which is done by all parties, both from the high-level representative to the local communities, because they are the ones that are going to use these type of infrastructures.
Brilliant, thank you. Inigo, please.
Yeah, I was going to build up on the stakeholder engagement as well and the social engagement at a project level. It's crucial. In the end, as you can imagine, all these projects along the river basin, there are thousands of people that you need to engage, that you need to make them aware and let them agree that the solution that is going to be implemented maybe is not the ideal for everyone, but it needs to be the best for all of them. And reaching those agreements is crucial. And then I think one of the other key factors that we're including is also including climate change in everything that we are doing. So we have like a clear assessment of what could be the climate shocks and stresses. In the models, we are including already climate change in the hydrology and all these things, really trying to make it as resilient as possible, not only the communities, but also the infrastructure that you're building. So that we think is fundamental.
Brilliant, thank you. 20 minutes goes very quickly, so we have less than 2 minutes left. In 30 seconds or less, I'm curious to hear from each of you, how can this approach be scaled up and introduced in more places? Nelly.
En el tiempo que tenemos, socializar este modelo de contrato G2G de Estado a Estado en todos los países para que esto pueda ser incorporado en su parte normativa. Una capacitación permanente a los funcionarios y servidores públicos en la toma de decisiones para considerar este modelo. Y quiero terminar. Este certamen está jóvenes acá presentes y realmente de esta semana, de estos días importantes, he aprendido una lección de los jóvenes. Paz con la naturaleza, respeto al agua. El agua no tiene fronteras y el compromiso del gobierno peruano a través de sus instituciones públicas es precisamente ser servicio para poder ejecutar obras públicas de envergadura para la protección de la vida y de la infraestructura y garantizar el desarrollo de nuestro país. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Nelly. Sandra.
I would have to agree with Nelly. Communication is really important and highlighting all the benefits that this government-to-government model has brought to Peru. But also we need to take into account when talking about different partners that infrastructure development could look like different to these partners. So it's important to have if we want to replicate this model, to have collaboration as the center of the partnership and then have a lot of flexibility to work on.
Brilliant. Inigo, please.
Yeah, to me, I think it's influence. It's a clear example that the government of Peru is really prioritizing climate change, and they not only say it, actually they barely say it, but they invest most of the funds every year in becoming more climate resilient. So I think now we actually need to start saying it more to see if we can influence other governments, and they also start investing a lot in becoming more resilient to climate change.
Brilliant. I mean, I think I'm taking away, that the importance of influence, the importance of listening to communities, the youth in play, the importance of partnership and collaboration, and building on the strength that already exists within Peru. I think it's really fantastic. I also just want to highlight, though the session description said, or the title said, $5 billion US invested, as Nelly pointed out, it is more than $6 billion committed by the Peruvian government and invested to this. It's quite an achievement. So congratulations to you. Congratulations on the partnership. Thank you all very much for joining me for this very important discussion. I really hope that we'll see this replicated, this type of model replicated in many other places. Thank you very much to our audience for joining us here and for those of you online. Thanks. Sorry, it's always very awkward at the end of these because we're